Hello everybody, my name is Tiffany, I'm the Tipsy Artist, and today we are painting Smiling Hammock of Love. So I've got my trace all ready to go here, and then let me show you the model that we'll be working from. So this is a painting that I have done with lots of beginners for many years, but now bringing to you for the first time live online. All right, so there is that lovely scene, and then let's go ahead and talk about the trace. We have our painting packs that come with each one of our designs here. Hello, Rolinda. And then let me show you the templates. So we've got our palm tree, and what I did here was I positioned one on one side like this, and then I put the other one, I just flipped it to the other side. And then, hi Kathy. And then I have my little hammock, position that in between those two. And then this is our little sailboat. And I put that right there. So what's funny about this is I just kind of freehanded this during a class one time. This is a really old painting. And somebody goes, oh my gosh, it's smiling. Like there's a happy face there. I didn't even see it. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right, it is. So it looked like this face with a smile. So it's always been one of my favorites. Yes, happy Friday! So exciting. And I hope our internet stays with us. It is storming outside, so pray. Pray that we always have internet through this. If something happens, of course, I'll come back on whenever we get going again, but just warning you, it is storming here where we're at today. All right, so that's our beautiful trace. Templates come with everything, and then if you already have a lot of supplies on your own, you can always just order the template pack too. And if you don't see it on our website, please just email me and ask me, and I'll get it on there. I'll get it loaded up right away. Sometimes we have everything with all of our packets, and then when it comes to the individual things, sometimes I'm kind of catching up. I don't quite have everything. Yeah. So now, is there a way to get a kit, or do you? Yes. We have all kinds of kits for every. We definitely have this as a kit, and so we can ship it out to you, or you can come pick it up. Either way. So yeah, we have it. We do. It's already online. TipsyArtist.com. All right. So to get started, let's go ahead and talk about the paint. We have our paint kit here too. This actually comes with the kit here. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and paint in all of our sky, all of our background first. So, and okay, let me just say this. Let me talk about some of the lines that I placed in here. So here's what I recommend. I actually recommend not necessarily doing these lines. I went ahead and did that just as a firm measurement, but with that being Sharpie all the way through, you probably don't want that really harsh bleed through line happening with your design. I went ahead and did that just as a guide to keep us on track here, but for my beginners who are working on this, you can put that in with pencil, but I'm talking about these horizontal lines coming through here. You don't want that bleeding through, so I would not do that in Sharpie. What is safe with a Sharpie though would be the palm trees, the sailboat, and the hammock. That's all going to be perfect. You can keep those hard lines happening around that, but these lines coming through here, not so much. That could cause you some fits, some problems. All right, so let's get started here. I'm going to use my Mama brush as my biggest brush. And then we want to mix up, the first layer that we'll sweep all the way across will be a really pretty turquoise color. So I'm going to mix some cyan blue here. And then I'm also going to take some Viridian. This is really pretty. This is one of my most favorite colors. All right, so I'm going to show you the plate. I promise I won't hide it all myself. All right, so we've got the Viridian and the cyan, and I've got lots of white all ready to go. And I'm going to go ahead and start with both those colors together, a little bit of that white, mix those all together so we get this really gorgeous turquoise color. A little bit more of that Viridian, so a little more white. All right, so the first thing that I will do is I'm just going to sweep this all the way across, starting here at the top. And my palm trees are Sharpied in, which is good. I actually want that to bleed through. And then I'm just going to sweep this back and forth. I actually want to make the brush strokes very continuous and not lift off. I don't want the choppiness. Like for example, I don't want to just stop and do this. So I do want to take it all the way across, just one continuous stroke until I basically start on one end, and then I don't lift off the brush until I'm completely off the canvas. And then as I sweep this through, then I'll also add in a little bit of white too as I go. And then that just looks like some really nice clouds that will run through the sky. So that's a really nice look. Very easy way to do that too. So definitely work it in as your turquoise is already still wet. And then you can just keep positioning this back and forth, back and forth. All right, so this is going to be my first top layer. And then I'll have a nice amount of wet paint that's still on the canvas, so that's good. Now my next section will be a really bright sunset color, what we always think about with sunset, which would be very warm, orangey, gold, yellows. So let's go ahead and do that mix next. I'm going to clean off my mama brush here. All right, next round of colors. I'm going to be using a cadmium yellow. Beautiful. My children's favorite colors. Yeah, what's interesting is my son started all this with the yellow. He said, oh, yeah, my favorite color is yellow. And I thought that was kind of strange because you don't normally hear that. People don't normally like yellow as their favorite color. They like it, but not as their favorite. Hello, Dina. Hello, Deanna. Hello, Relinda. Hello, Kathy. Hello, you people. If I didn't say hi, it's because I can't see your name. But hello, everyone. So I've got my yellow, but I found out with my son, it turns out he is very colorblind. It's really sad. Can you imagine being my son and being colorblind? So it's bad. He's got a pretty severe case of it. So yellow is about the only color that he can see. And so it's like all this grayscale. And then a little bit of like yellow is super, super strong. So he loves yellow, just really gravitates towards that. And then my daughter just looks like sunshine. So I think that's why she loves yellow so much. And maybe he just rubbed off on her. So, all right, I'm gonna do a little bit of orange too. I've set my watch to let me know when you're on. Yay, that's so exciting. Yay, come see us. I'm on almost every day now. I'm getting there. I try to be on as much as possible. Okay, so we have this beautiful warm sunset that we're about to place in here, and I've been gabbing about yellow, so I need to re-wet this so that I get a soft blend between the two. And that's actually a good thing to say. So if you, as you're painting this, acrylic sets up and dries pretty quickly, really within about 3 to 5 minutes. And I've definitely been talking for a minute, so I'm gonna go ahead and re-wet that last layer. So I'm gonna sweep in that same color that we just did, sweep it in, because I want to make sure that that's nice and wet. I'm going to do a soft blend into this now. So washed off mama, use a new mama here. And then we're going to mix up, hi Donna, a little bit of this beautiful cadmium yellow, primary yellow, and then some orange. We're going to mix all that together. And you might even want a little bit of white nearby too. We'll give you some really pretty peachy tones. Then I want to softly blend just right over the top. So I'm going to do a little bit of a soft, just overlay right over the top. And you'll have to keep wiping your brush with this too, because you will pick up some of that wet paint. But I definitely want to go right over the top. And I'm applying some pretty firm pressure here, because I want a soft blend. I don't want a harsh line. I don't want it to just be this one just solid line of blue and then just abruptly go to these warmer tones. So, and actually I need a little bit more of this really bright yellow. So I need to do a little bit of an overlay and then softly blend that through to where there's more of a soft fade, just back and forth. So over that darkest line where they met, I applied some firm pressure, softened it up. Now I'm coming back in. See how when those two colors meet though, it makes a very not so attractive, sometimes that can be attractive, but not what we're wanting. We're wanting to keep this extremely vibrant. That's becoming very gray, and we don't want gray, we don't want that gray quality in our sunset. We want to maintain the brightness of it. So I need to keep wiping off my brush and cleaning my brush as I go. So now I've got a clean brush again. I did that soft blend in there, but I did need to remove all that gray from my brush. So there's a little bit of a tricky quality happening there. Now I'm going to go right back into those really pure bright colors, and where it's become very light in here, then I'll go ahead and lightly go right over the top again, bring in that really bright quality, just push that back and forth. So I picked up a little bit of that gray again. You got to be careful. I've got some paper towels. I'm doing a quick little wipe off to the side to get that off of there. I'm going to come back in with this really bright yellow and then push that through to really brighten it up. Just more of that pure yellow. And then to get it to really lay on over the top, I'm going to really change how I hold the brush. So I'll sweep it in over the top here. Light hands. All right, so there is one layer of our sunset. Very pretty. All right, so that's very bright. We were able to maintain that. So we did that really nice soft transition blend there, which I had to just barely overlay a little bit, apply some firm pressure, and then as I continued to do it, I had to wipe off my brush through that process to get the gray out, to keep the color vibrant, and then come back in with a really light hand and just feather it out. All right, the next step will be some lavender. We're going to have the same issue with this too. Wish I would have made this a little easier on myself. You know what I'm going to do? I am going to make it easier. I am the boss of me. I was just sitting here thinking, why didn't I go in with pink next? Because pink's so much easier to transition. So guess what? We're going to transition from a magenta to then a purple, because all those colors fade into each other beautifully, and that'll make it easier for beginners. So there you go. All right, so now I'm going to use some of this beautiful primary magenta. All right, so there's that. I'm so glad that I thought of this. And so, all right, and let's get some more white off to the side. You will also be very glad that I thought of doing this, because going from this color to lavender makes that muddy gray quality again, and it's hard. It's just a really challenging transition. So now if we go from this beautiful magenta, see how awesome that is? That's beautiful. And if you're mixing at home, maybe you just have some more basic colors like red, for example. You could just do red and white here and get yourself a really nice hot pink. And then we're going to transition back and forth now into this beautiful golden color, and it just flows right into each other. I mean, it's just a beautiful mix. Very complementary, never loses that bright quality. It stays very bright. So that's what we want. That is a beautiful thing there. We have a nice soft fade. So we just made that a whole lot easier on you. So again, we did have a little bit of a challenge getting from turquoise to gold. But then as we went from gold to this beautiful fuchsia color, hot pink, we made that a lot easier on you. Now we can actually transition from this beautiful hot pink to a violet color, and still very easy because again those colors really flow very well together. So I've got my little violet here, and then let's go ahead and push into some of that. Looks very dark there, but that is, you'll see once I get into a little bit of white, starts to look more like lavender. Very pretty. So this will also softly fade into that. Let's do a little bit more white, and then we'll do a little bit of that overlay to where there's that soft transition. And these colors, again, they work very well together, so they can softly blend into each other, and you don't lose any brightness at all. They stay very bright and beautiful. And then you can add a little bit more white to it if you want to keep it like lighter, brighter, almost more of a lavender that comes through the sky, which happens quite a bit. Lavender's definitely a very beautiful sunset color. Alright, so I'm going to push that all the way through. And then you want your brush strokes to be very continuous. I'm going to take this all the way across. This is again where you want to go ahead and you start at the very end and then you just take it all the way across. You don't lift off until you're all the way off the canvas. Alright, so I have a really nice soft fade between all of my colors in here, which is wonderful. Alright, so now we are good on our sunset. And then I've got this transition line here. That's a hard black line. As I mentioned at the beginning of the class, if you're doing this in Sharpie, that one won't get you too much. But I actually recommend doing some of these lines later, just because the Sharpie will bleed through, and so it can actually cause you fits later. This horizon line though, with where the water meets the sky, that one won't really get you. It's this one that might really get you because there's a lot of, it transitions from water and ocean to the beach, and there needs to be a soft fade of white. And if you still did it with Sharpie, I promise we can still cover it up, but it will, there's just a little, there's like another element of challenge in there, but we can still do it. Alright, so now I need to go ahead and work back into the same, basically the same color that we had up here, because we're going to start working in the ocean. So I need a little bit more of this beautiful color. This is my Viridian. This actually comes in our paint kit. Alright, and it's really good, high quality paint. A little bit goes a long way. So I've got white, some cyan blue, and a little bit of that Viridian. So I've got lots of white nearby, and then that color mix. And then I'm going to go ahead and start to sweep this all the way across. And again, I am sweeping through the design, but what I know is that Sharpie will go ahead and bleed through, and that will actually help me out. So I'll be able to come back into that shape later, because I know where it's at. Now, if you're working at home and you don't want to mess with all this tracing at first, that's actually a great plan. You can actually just do all of your background color first. It's probably easier actually. And then what you can do is you can let it all set up and dry. And then you can just take the templates and then you can place them on the dry canvas. So basically all this background color can be completely done. And then you can just let it set up and dry, and then you can come back in with your templates and then retrace right over the top. And that's actually what I would recommend if you're doing this at home. And let's just say you did it in pencil and you paint everything and you completely cover up everything. You can still do that. So you can just say, oh, well, got good practice and I'll just do it all over again. Alright, so still working in our beautiful ocean, and we've got that mix of that Viridian, that cyan blue, and then a little bit of white. And then I'll just take this back and forth. And I like to alternate between all of those colors. So it gives me a little bit of variety happening. And sometimes I'll pick up a little bit more of that Viridian color to make the water look a little bit more like aqua, like an aqua blue or an aqua teal happening there. And then I'll take this all the way down to where this is basically where our beach will start. Alright, now as I take this across while the paint is still wet, I want to do a few little highlights over the water. So again, I want to eliminate too many brush strokes. I want that smooth stroke just going all the way across here. And I'll just take that, again, just don't let that brush lift off until you're completely off the canvas. You can run maybe a little bit of white through there too for a nice little accent. All right. And then with a light hand, we can start to add a few of the accents that come into the water. So let me show you some of that. Let's see, what brush? I want to use my little buddy here. And I need some of that really vibrant primary yellow again. All right, so we got primary yellow. And here's little buddy. So this is the brush I'll be using next. All right, so we've got some highlights happening. So little buddy here. And I want to kind of sweep this just along the horizon line. And just kind of drag it in a few spots. Doesn't have to go all the way across, but just a little sketch of this throughout here. And more of my sun is hitting on this side today, so I can also have a little bit happening. I'll just drag through a few of these golden highlights on this side, and I basically just have a little bit of primary yellow on the brush, and I hold it on the side, and then I basically just lay it out on the side. And yes, we do. We sell our beautiful kits. We have a kit that goes for every single painting. I'm so glad you asked. So yeah, tipsyartist.com. You just look for the picture that corresponds with this, and we send you everything you need. And then even if you have some supplies at home and don't need everything that we sell with the kit, then you can kind of break it up in parts. We sell it in parts too. So we sell like the templates, we sell the paint, we sell the brushes, or we sell it all together. So just however you need it. All right, so I've got these little beautiful gold highlights happening here. I'm going to continue on. I'm going to lay these on in just little tiny horizontal strokes and just lightly kind of drag it across here. Very light, gentle hand. And this is just basically some reflective sunshine happening on the water. So I'll just take this all the way across. Yeah, I've got a few more happening here. And I'll come back in with a little bit of white here in a minute too. Or sometimes you can kind of bring that in. Let's bring it in both. A little bit of white, a little bit of primary yellow. Yeah, I'm liking the mix of that actually. I'll bring in both of those. Just going to take this all the way across. Again, it's just primary yellow and white. Yes! Yay! Awesome! I'll just keep pushing this back and forth. Again, just white, primary yellow. Right, and then let's do a few more drags of just some white, just real gentle white just coming across here. Got my mama brush. Just kind of lightly pull that across. A little bit more random with this. Kind of lightly pull that through, just here and there. All right, beautiful. So now we have a little bit of sunshine on our water. That's awesome. Okay, so now we need to work in the beach. Have to have the beach. We have to have some place to sit. All right, so here we go. The beach. All right, so warmer tones here on this. And I'm going to be using, we're gonna go right back into the brights that we have in here. Our beach is going to be so beautiful and bright. All right, so we've got our cadmium yellow. And then let's do more of that primary yellow. I'm missing my primary yellow. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Okay. Primary yellow. All right, now I need to start mixing up. I have to do a weird mix of a brown. So let's see here. I need a little bit of black. There's a little bit of a gray. All right, so I'm mixing up some black and some white up here in the tip top because we need a nice gray to work with. And it's just black and white. Now let's go ahead and get some of that primary yellow in there. And then that will take it to kind of a nice taupe color. And then I'll have to add a lot more white to that to really subdue it. It's very dark right now. All right, it's getting there. Really, really light. All right, starting to get there. All right, the other thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and do a pre-mix on a brown off to the side here. All righty, so now, all right. So I'm going to be using some cadmium red. Now, if you have brown at home, good for you. I actually do have brown over here to the side, which would make it a lot easier. But our kit does not actually have just a pure brown, so I have to go through this crazy process of mixing brown. And sometimes that can be pretty interesting. All right, so we've got a cadmium red, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of black to that, and that will actually give me a dark brown. So that actually pulls me to a perfect brown right there. That's cadmium red and black, and then I can start to lighten that up with my white too. So I have that mixed up to the side. All right, so here we go. All right, let's see. And I promise we're gonna get there on our beach. All right, so we've got, get more white here, and we're gonna use this lovely little bit of taupe, and I'm gonna start to sweep this across. So this is that taupe that we mixed up in the beginning. My mommy's on here. Hi, Mom. Love you, Mom. All right, so with that taupe color, what we did, just as a recap, because that was a little, I just kind of went all over the place with color mixing here. So this was just black and white, makes a gray, and then I mixed that with primary yellow, and then that gave me this really pretty taupe color. And that's going to be our beach. And I had to add a lot of white into that to make it super, super light so that we have like what they call that sugar sand. Makes it very pretty. So I'll sweep that all the way across. right, so again, this was black, white, mix of gray, mix it with a little bit of yellow, lots of white, and then this gives you your beautiful beach that comes across. And then we'll just continue on with lots of white that will sweep through here. And it gets lighter and lighter as we get closer to the water because we're starting to see where the wave comes in. And I'll sweep this all the way across. And you can add little highlights of warmth in your sandy beach. So like you can come back in with a little bit of that primary yellow and just kind of sweep that in there. Just take it all the way across. It'll get a nice soft blend and that'll warm up your beach a little bit with those colors. All right, and then right up here near the edge, I want to be pretty thick with that white. So I'm going to go ahead and just lightly lay it on over the top. Where the palm trees come in, I don't have to worry about being too thick there. But in through here, I want to make sure that it's kind of a thick coat. And I'm laying it on the side of the brush just like that and going all the way across here with a horizontal stroke. Gonna have a palm tree there in a second, so pretty heavy-handed with the white, right in through here. All right, and then do a little bit of a soft blend in here. Clean off my brush a little bit. A little bit more white. And then you can actually kind of pounce it on here too. Give a little bit more thickness and texture to give that look like the wave is crashing in just a little bit. So I'm going to add a little bit more texture here. All right, so let's take a better look at this. So on the side of the brush, see there's quite a bit of paint there on the edge. And then I'm going to do a quick little pounce on the side to where this is quite a bit more textural. And just very light. You want to have a really light hand and just barely lay this on over the top. And definitely just relax with this process. Allow this texture to really work for you. And you can actually be a little bit, just don't try to make it so perfect. Definitely kind of move it around a little bit. I mean, just kind of in a straight line, but not perfect straight line. There's definitely some movement happening here. And we'll just take that nice texture all the way across. Again, just kind of lightly pouncing over the top, letting that texture just rest right on top of the canvas. Very light hand, and the more you hold the brush over to the side parallel to the canvas, the more gentle your hand will become. It's when you're holding it like this that you're going to dig into the paint and scrape it off. So you just watch your hand, watch your brush placement. Again, more parallel here, more gentle it is. All right, so I've got that wave coming quite a bit in there. All right, so we have some really beautiful texture happening. That's looking lovely. All right, so next, I'm gonna make the very last thing we do, the part that's written in the sand where it says, I love you, but now I'm gonna go ahead and work in our beautiful palm trees. Okay, so we had to mix up some brown earlier, and that was a little bit tricky and different. So let's go over that one more time. I thought I was going to use it earlier on the beach and I decided not to. So, you know, I just changed my mind. Okay, so I've got my cadmium red. And then I need to put a little bit of black with this so that it makes brown. All right, what am I doing? Oh, I need a, here we go. All right, so here's Mama. And then let's do a little bit more black there. And this will make a really beautiful dark chocolate brown. So this is cadmium red and black. Yay, love it. That has a really nice rich mahogany quality to it too. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and continue using my Mama brush, use the line edge, and I'll go ahead and line out this palm tree here. Now, one of the things I don't want to have happen, so I'm going to go ahead and clean up a little bit. I don't want that mix of that white in there, so I'm going to go ahead and scrape that off. This is where my palm tree is going to go, and I see my line edge that frames it in, so I'm going to go ahead and scrape that off. I'm just removing that excess white. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and line this out to where this goes up. And it'll pick up a little bit of that white anyway, and that's okay. But I wanted to get the majority of it off of there. And I'm using the line edge here on this side too. And then this line, can y'all still see everything? Okay, good. Sometimes I get in the way. All right, so I can go back and forth. I want to make sure I get my line all the way around the palm tree. And then I want to make sure I fill it in. So let's talk about how we hold the brush. As we do the line edge, you want to hold the brush more like a pencil. See how it gives you that nice thin line on the end? You also want to watch your bristles. Sometimes you have to wipe down your brush or actually just wash it, dry it completely, reload. Sometimes the bristles can get too filled with paint and they can just spread out and you're not able to get a nice thin line. So that's, you know, making sure that that's nice and thin is really key for getting this nice thin line here. And then when you go to fill it in, then you can turn it like this and let that flat side of the brush face the canvas. So I'll go ahead and just turn this. Fill in. And I'm trying to hold the brush as much as possible flat towards the canvas so that it gets really good coverage in here. And same thing over here. Still just working on our palm trees. One thing that's really awesome about a palm tree, and I might get some of the facts screwed up on this, but I think they can withstand just crazy winds, like up to 90 miles an hour, maybe even more, and they can just bend completely over with flexibility all the way down to the ground and then come back up. So when you're going through tough times, be like a palm tree. That is your cheesy, positive affirmation today, brought to you by the Tipsy Artist. All right, here we go. We need more of this beautiful cadmium red. Lately, I feel like we've all had to be, whew, we're just waiting. We're all like this. We're waiting for that moment where we can pop back up. I am. So, all right, we got our black and our cadmium red. And this will make our beautiful chocolate brown again. So the reason why I've got more of this mixed up is I want to go ahead, even though we've got the whole shape of this trace for the top of our tree, I want to go ahead and just continue to make all the branches that sweep through the center. So I want that nice thin line again, so there we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and wherever you can see, I think you can see it from a distance. I'm going to bring it closer to you so you can, but you can see the outline. So I'm going to sweep into each one of those sections. That's my guide that lets me know where to go. So I'm going to take the brush. Let me make sure I put it back so y'all can see it. Okay. All right, so I'm going to take the brush and just sweep it. I can go in here because I've got a little reference there. I can go in here. And then I can go in here. In here. And in here. So you still have to do a little bit of, you know, just don't get nervous, but it's kind of a free-for-all painting in the middle of the template. It'll be all right, I promise. So a little line that curves just softly, just a little bit, and then curves in there, and then we go in here. But these definitely give us a good guide. Now, I will tell you, if this freaks you out so much to the point where you're like, oh no, like that's too much, you can actually make the shapes of the templates into silhouettes that go completely up against your background of your sky. And that's also a really beautiful look too. So if all of this technique and this more advanced treatment scares you, that's always an option, is to just go ahead and treat these shapes like silhouettes and just completely fill them in with solid black. And that's also a really lovely look too. But I'm gonna go ahead and teach you some fun techniques today. So we're gonna go ahead and take that brown that we mixed up and do the formations of our branches that come through the palm trees. You can already see that starting to evolve and how beautiful that looks. Then we will come back in with some really pretty green. So I'm going to put my mama over here off to the side, and then we need some of this beautiful bright green here. So we have cadmium green. Let's get a lot of that. And then I might even want a little touch of my Viridian again. It's got that really pretty teal happening. All right, and then let's see, that's probably, you know what, let's do one more. Our kit comes with, we've got a bright yellow green. That might make for a nice highlight. Not sure, I don't know. We'll play with that and see if I like it or not. Okay. All right. So same brush, you know what, I think it might be a little heavy with the brown, so what I'm going to do, just to play it safe, this is what I used earlier for all my browns, so I'm going to go ahead and just give it a quick wipe, get some of that excess off of there. Kind of see what I'm doing. And that way the brush is still loaded, it still has a little bit of that dark chocolate brown in it, but not so much, not to where it's too heavy. And then I'm going to go ahead and come in with this really pretty cadmium green. And then every time I have a little branch that comes out, then I'm going to come off of it with the beautiful little palm leaf. Hello, Shannon. You're a sweet lady too. Welcome. All right, so I'm going to come off of the side. And the basic shape of this, it kind of feels like you're making little half circles, or you can tell your brain it's a lot like maybe a parentheses, but it's that soft curve. So I'm going to go in this direction off the side of the branch and take that leaf. It's just little tiny curved lines. And I'm just using that cadmium green to start with. And I'm basically filling into the template shape that is pre-traced on here. And because we're coming into that wet dark chocolate paint, you get a nice soft blend. And so it creates a nice little shadow, but still has the nice little highlight of the green happening, which is really pretty. So just make little tiny lines. And we're going to do this all the way around. So again, just little soft curved lines off of each side. And we're going to do it on top too. And it'll fill into that shape. And I think you can see the reference of the Sharpie still kind of hanging out in the background, just very subtle, but it's back there. And that helps give your mind a guide to know where to go. So you're basically just filling into that, starting with that center branch that we made, and then just pulling that out to the outside of that shape. And then let's do the same thing here, off to the side. Make sure you got a nice, oops, I dipped into that weird taupe color. I don't think I want that just yet. All right, so little tiny soft lines that come off of the edge here. And you definitely want them to curve around so that they lay, you know, a little bit over to this side in the direction that they're going. And then come from underneath this time. Again, just little half circles or like little parentheses. And my brown is starting to set up and dry a little bit, so I'm not getting as much of a nice mix as I did earlier. So I may have to come back in with even a little bit more brown. Just barely tap into it and softly blend that in to where you get more of a soft blend as they come back in together. I'm starting to push into a little bit of that Viridian now too, along with the cadmium green, so we'll see what that does. That'll add a nice little touch, a little bit more of a dramatic effect with the greens happening here. Coming up on one side, and then underneath now. You also want to make sure, keep kind of checking your brush, make sure it doesn't, mine's starting to get a little bit, it was starting to fill up with paint, so it was kind of spreading it out like that. So I had to scrape off the paint again, and then I'm going to apply some firm pressure. All right, see, I've got it thin again. All right, so that's important to get those nice fine little leaves happening here. All right, so now let's come off of the edge, little half circles again, got my little thin lines back. And thank you, Shannon. It's easy for y'all too. Just off to the side. Okay, now I'm kind of pushing into a little bit of that Viridian green and the cadmium green. Do a little bit of that touch of brown too. So that nice mix between the two. Get a little bit more of that shadow going. And then here's our last little leaf on this side. So we're coming off the side of that brown branch that we made earlier. Light little lines here. Come off to the side. A little bit of a whoosh, whoosh, like that. You have to make that noise too. It helps. And then if it becomes a little bit disconnected from the branch to where you're seeing this, there's too much transparency with the green over the top of the branch and it doesn't look like they're belonging, then I need to go ahead and come back in with a little bit more of that brown, softly blend into that. It was just perfect over on this side because it was still wet, and so we were getting that nice soft blend with the brown and the greens working together simultaneously. And then I noticed as I got over here to this side and the brown was setting up and drying, then I started to lose that nice mix that I had. All right, so that is beautiful. All right, now I'm going to come over here on this side, so I'm going to push my canvas just a little bit. And then, so I'm going to make sure I'm out of the way. So again, cadmium green and a little bit of that Viridian, so you can see the two mixed there. And definitely, we haven't touched this in a while, so we're going to have, all of our brown should be completely set up and dry. So I will definitely have to keep working back into the brown more simultaneously as I go through this process on this side, so that it looks like it's softly blending into each other as they extend away from the branch. So I'll come off of each side here. Let's push into a little bit of that beautiful brown that we made. And again, a little recap on the brown. If you come to my shows, we have brown. We just have brown. It comes in a bottle. But in my kits for at home, we do not have brown. Just there's no brown, so it's hard to make it. So that's cadmium red and black. And that brings me to another point. I need to make another video on just how to mix colors with our kits, because especially with this beach scene, it's been a little bit tricky knowing how to mix that up. And that can be a little bit overwhelming. All right, so I'm going to touch into a little bit of that brown, get that to where it feels like it's belonging with those little branches and the palm tree leaves. All right, coming back into the cadmium green and the viridian. I'm going to come off this section here. And it's just little short strokes, and then lift off with a light hand. And just keep going with a little bit of a soft curve off to each side. Oh, I don't want to miss that one. I almost missed a little bit there. And then back to this side now. Now I did accidentally touch into a little bit of that light, bright yellow green. So who knows, we'll just see what happens with that. That might be super pretty, and I might want to really add that to more. Let's see what that looks like. I'm gonna come back over here and play with that a little bit. That's kind of interesting. That kind of gives a nice little highlight. And then if you don't like it, you can always come back in dark again. I don't know. Just playing. All right, so now we're going to come off the other side. Then we can push into a little bit more of that brown, help it belong. Gotta have your roots. Helps you belong. And then off to each side here. And push into a little bit of that viridian color. Sweeping that off to the side. I get a lot of reflective light in front of me, so sometimes I can't see because of the glare. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in with a much bolder stroke of the viridian, just here and there, because I'm really liking the dramatic effect of that. So that viridian has more of a real strong teal, so I'm going to go ahead and push that through. So I'll just take little soft strokes, just kind of all the way throughout there. It's just a nice little accent. And I'll do this all the way around here. Just kind of random. And again, this color is the viridian green. And I'm still just using the Mama brush. So what's great about the Mama is it can actually, even though it's our biggest brush, it's got that longer line edge. So it just makes all these strokes a lot easier. All right. So we have beautiful palm trees now. It's pretty exciting. Okay. And I want to play with a little bit of an accent here. So I'm going to just do a little light drag of a color through there. I don't know. I may not like that later. I may cover it up with something else. You just got to play sometimes. Okay, so now what we need to do our beautiful little hammock here in the center. And so I have a really pretty kind of a light gray happening here on this. And I've got that mix from earlier. So I've got a little bit of that sandy beach color we used and that darker gray. So I'm going to use those two together. And this again is just white, black, and to warm it up for that taupe color, I actually just pulled in a little bit of that primary yellow. So I'm going to go ahead and sweep through here first. And you can definitely make your hammock a different color if you want. Some people might like a bright red maybe. There's lots of options. Do this gray again, so I'm going to outline it with the gray now. Again, this is our hammock. Sweep that color through there again to help it softly blend. Just lightly take it back and forth. And as I worked back the taupe and the gray, it kind of created a little bit of a soft blend, but allowed some of those colors to remain and some to soften out, so it kind of looks like a little bit of like fabric folding. And then let's go ahead and do the ropes that go up to connect to the tree, which would be just black. So I want to make sure I've got a nice thin line edge again. So I've got my Mama and just black. Press into that. All right, nice and thin. So let's check. All good. All right, so it's a diagonal stroke, basically coming up to this one side. And then same thing here. And then we can also just kind of lightly outline. It's a light outline. It's not a real thick, heavy one, but all right, and then I'm going to make a few little wispies as if there's little pieces of that rope that are kind of tied and sort of fraying off to the side. So I've got my little bit brush now. I twirl it into a nice fine point, and then I'm going to go ahead and fully connect this and then make a few little wispies come off to the side. And then here. Sweet. Okay, so now I need to work on my little boat right in the center. And I want the base of my boat to be kind of like that chocolate brown that we had in the first place here with the palm trees. And I don't know, sometimes I just want a little bit of fuchsia right there. That was random, I know. I was like, oh, I see fuchsia. That's what painters do. They see something in the moment and they go, oh, I have to do that right now. All right, I just want a little bit more fuchsia there. And maybe a little bit of that gold right there. All right, I promise I'm gonna get back to that boat. Okay, here we go. That was like, squirrel. Just 80 HDs. My husband always likes to tell me. I can get distracted. Okay, so back to the boat here. I'm gonna do my little cadmium red, and then that black, and then that will give me a nice dark color. of that chocolate brown. This will be the base of the boat here. Little bit brush, let's do a quick little spin into the paint. And then I'll go ahead and fill this in. And we definitely have this shape for you. I don't know if you can see it or not, but this was definitely a little traceable. Isn't that cute? Alright, so there's the boat. And then we're going to come in and do the little sail. So first I need the little wooden part here underneath. And then the sail will just be a really pretty little white. You can add a tiny touch of like some black to it to make kind of a soft gray, but I'm going to keep mine mostly white here. A little bit brush again. When I first taught this years and years ago, this original painting over here is about 12 years old, I think. And we freehanded everything. There were no templates back then. We've learned a lot since then to make the process a lot easier. Alright, so this part is just a little triangle. Just fill that in. Now the line part of the shape, you can of course just hold the brush more like a pencil, take it all the way around, and then when you fill in, oops, oh, Grace, hold on a second. I just pushed my brush through 3 different colors, and I don't want that. I want white still. All right, here we go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and sweep on a little bit more white over the top. And then you can, even with this small of a brush, you can kind of just lay the brush on over on the side. All right, awesome. Okay, so we have our cute little boat, and I want to make a little touch of a red accent over the top. Let's see who we have here now. We've got Lila, Shannon, and then that's all I see. But hello, everybody. All right, so now let's do a little touch of that bright, vibrant red, and do a little sweep of an accent of color right there. And then down the other side. So it gives that reference of it being a red boat maybe in the background, or at least a little nice red pinstriping job. So, all right, so we've got that in place. Now, when we talked about this earlier, of course, we have some lettering we can place in here. That is optional. You do not have to do the lettering. You can leave it just the way it is. Looks like a beautiful landscape. If you do want to do the lettering, we're going to talk about that. So I always recommend people letting everything dry, first of all, anything set up and dry. Hi, Danny. And you can go ahead and pencil it on. That way you know it fits into the space, and you can write something simple like love, or you can say, like in my original here, I have I love you. And so it's kind of reminiscent of, you know, like when you go to the beach with somebody and you write something in the sand for them. So that's the basic idea. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little sketch here of my eye, right there. And then I've got a little heart here. Like that. And then we're going to do you. I love you. All right, does not have to be perfect, because remember, you're at the beach. Who cares? I just washed off my pencil. Well, it's nice and clean now. Good job. Okay, silly goose. Okay, so we're going to take our little bit brush, little bits, and we're going to do a quick little twist into some brown again. This will be what we'll write with over the top. So let's mix up more brown. Man, I am going through the brown. Okay, so here we go. Cadmium red. I want to make sure I've got enough. And then black. All right, so cadmium red and black, we're going to mix those two together, and this will give us a beautiful chocolate brown. All right. Now, to get a nice thin point, we want to make sure we just mix with this brush, so the bristles, of course, they kind of do that. So you want to make sure that they're twisted back into a nice fine point. So we take that brush and just twist it out. So I just rotate it between my fingertips and get it twisted out into a nice fine point. Here we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and write over those pencil lines that we just did. And definitely on this, since it's supposed to be like handwritten in the sand, I think it's much more precious for this to be done. You know, some people are so connected to this new perfect lettering everywhere, which kind of drives me nuts, honestly. Just because I'm such a huge fan of just the authentic penmanship of the person and having that personality come through in the painting. I just love it. In fact, with all of my kids' art, if they had used a stencil for every single word, it just would not be nearly as precious to me. And that goes for any gift I get from somebody. You know, it's that beautiful penmanship where I know it's their hand and their personality that comes through. I'm actually just a huge fan of that. So, yeah, so there's my 2 cents on that. Nobody agrees with me. I can't find anybody. Everybody's like, no, I want my lettering to be perfect. So, but I love just, you can even look like a doctor's, you know, signature, and I'm okay with it. I just think it's lovely. There's just something about it that's very endearing to me. All right, so we're going to finish writing here. All right, so as it is, this is pretty stark, and we haven't done all the soft blending to make this look like it's really in the sand. So that's going to be the next fun trick that we're going to do. Normally I'm just like, yay, we're done, but no, we're not. All right, so we have a little bit of this fun pounce effect, and it's very delicate that we need to do. So we want that beachy sand look again, and a little bit of a tap, tap, tap effect just all the way around to create a nice soft blend. So we've got our taupe up here, and I want to make sure I've got a lot of white nearby too. So let's do that first. And then I've also got my yellow nearby, just in case. All right, so we're gonna get right next to this paint while it's still kind of wet and just barely tap around it. So it's a teeny tiny little just dot. You just basically take your brush and just dot, 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 like that. So this is actually kind of a really fun therapeutic effect. Now this is that taupe we mixed up to go with our beach earlier. So this is white, primary yellow, and white. Lots of white in that mix too. So I'm going to use that same and just tap, tap, tap all around it to give a little bit of texture, as if this is where you took your stick and kind of drew in the sand here. You might even just do a little bit of that white. Just tap all the way around it. And I'll do this around every single letter. So this is just a nice, patient process. You can also kind of every now and again hit back into the brown too, that we actually wrote with in the beginning, and just lightly tap into that with that brown. And then that way you get a nice soft blend into that new tap of paint that you've got. So I'm going to go back to the light again, which is more of that taupe color. And that white, just tap, tap, tap all the way around. And it's starting to look a little bit more like it was actually written in the sand. So you've got a little bit more of that dimension coming in around it. I just barely tapped into a little bit of a brighter orange too. I don't know, I'm just kind of playing, seeing what a little highlight of color might look like. And if you cover up over your lettering a little bit too much, you can always come right back into that brown and just tap, tap, tap right in the center again. And then that gives you a nice soft blend. As it works into that little bit of texture all the way around it. All right, so now it's really starting to have that textural feel again, like it's really in the sand. So we're going to continue on. Same thing here around the little heart. Just that little tap. I have to be very delicate with it, but again, this is that little taupe that we have mixed up. A little bit of white, a little bit of taupe. And then we'll take this all the way around here. And we may lose a little bit of the heart as we do this in the beginning. That's okay, because we can come right back into it as our final step. Again, this is just a tapping motion. And come back in with more white now. Help get that nice soft blend over the top. I always think this kind of process is very peaceful and therapeutic to do. And by the way, it might scare you a little bit when you look at this close up. Sometimes people go, oh my gosh, this is looking weird. I'm tapping a little bit of some brighter color in here. But it's one of those things where from a distance, it has a better read to it. All right, I'm going to come back in with that darker brown and just reinforce the actual shape of the heart in the middle. And just kind of lightly tap it out. Take it all the way around. There's a lot of kind of back and forth correcting you can do too, so I'm going to come back in with the brown. All right, yay, texture. All right, so we're going to come in, I'm going to clean off my brush, reload a little bit here into this taupe color. Now, you might be noticing my Sharpie line showing through up here at the top. That's kind of what I talked about. That's the one Sharpie line that is a little bit regrettable for beginners to have to work through. Like, it would be better if you just did not do that one, because this is, everywhere else it doesn't really show up. It's nice, it works for you. The black line works for you everywhere else. But right there, it needs to be white again, and so there's a lot of cover-up you have to do to mask it later. So I'll have to hit that back with more white waves here in a second too. Get that covered up. All right, still doing more texture. Again, this is looking like writing in the sand. So I'm taking a little bit of that taupe, looks like a little bit of sand that's as if we've taken our stick And we've written our little message of love. And that taupe again is yellow, white, and black. I'll take this all the way around. And every once in a while I like to add a little bit of warmth, so I'll just pick up some of this pretty cadmium. It's kind of a nice warm shadow. And then let's go ahead and do more white to softly blend. If there's anything that's a little bit too harsh with the taupe, the white really helps pounce back into it and really soften out that transition as you're working all the way around here. And again, just be very patient with it and just lightly tap all the way around. Tap out here a little bit, center, and tap, tap, tap there. And then in a minute, I'm going to bring in a little bit of correction with the center of each on all the letters too. So we'll do a quick little dry brush off on a rag, and then I'm going to work back into the brown, hit that one more time with a little bit of a pounce right through the center of each letter. That'll give me one more little bit of nice soft fade between the two, because the paint's still a little bit wet, and so the brown is not so abrupt, and it actually does a nice soft blend into everything that we just pounced out, so that gives a nice transition. Continue working in this little last bit of brown here. Yay. All right, so cool. So we have this beautiful texture. Now it looks like we've written our little message of love here in the sand. And then I'm going to do another round. I may have to come back in several times during the day and hit over the top on this white just to make sure I've got really good coverage here to recover over that. But I've got my little buddy brush and white, and I'm going to tap this one more time with a little bit more texture of the wave coming in over the top. So I'm just laying right into that thick paint. You can see how it's really thick there on the end. This is my little buddy brush. And I'm just going to lightly lay that on right over the top. So I want my pressure to be extremely light, and I also want to put a lot of paint on the surface so that it does look like a nice frothy wave there on the beach. It's really a nice look. So lots of texture is actually a good thing. I just kind of lay that on over the top. And here too. I want to make sure that I get that one line really covered up, and it's just nice to have more texture happening with the wave coming in on top of the beach. It actually kind of worked out in my favor. It makes me come back in and do the work that's really necessary to get all that beautiful texture in. It's just a light pounce effect over the top. Kind of make it random, kind of vary it a little bit as you go. That actually helps the quality of it. Let me get out of the frame here. I've got to get that last little bit. All right, so that is beautiful. I'm so excited. Okay, so I think we are absolutely done with our beautiful smiling hammock on the beach. And then the only thing left to do is just to sign the masterpiece. So it's kind of tight in here. There's not much room. There are some different options. Of course, you can keep it super tiny with a Sharpie or the little bit brush. You want to really twist it out like that. Like you really want to, let me just give you a quick reference here. Like take this brush and really twist it in between your fingertips to get that super, super tiny point there. And this is so tiny, I might even just, you know, do an initial thing. So, ta-da! We'll call that good enough. The other thing you can do is I've seen some people sign here on the side of the canvas as well, so that's another option too. So, you know, there's lots of different options on that. But yay! Okay, so we are done with our beautiful painting. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's see, question, I see one. Are you coming to Enid anytime soon? Actually, yes, it's right on the outside of Enid. We're coming to Ringwood, which is really just like, I think 5-10 minutes right out of, I mean, it's just right there. And it's a winery. And so we're going to be there July 10th. Yeah, the hotel is, thank you so much. Yeah, the hotel there, they still do not have the green light for group events. So a lot of people are still kind of holding off on that. But yeah, we're definitely going to Indian Creek Village Winery, July 10th. So check that out. We have a beautiful painting coming there. I believe it's called Be Kind, with the bee and the beautiful sunflower. So it's going to be there. Yeah, so yeah, come join us. It's a beautiful place and they have tons of room. I mean, it's a huge event center and our crowds are still pretty small right now. That way we keep everybody really spread out. Yeah, 15 minutes. Yeah, so come see us. Yay. All right, so let's see. Oh, and also we're here for y'all in Guthrie, Oklahoma. So we're having a show this Saturday. If y'all can make it, we would love to have you. It will be a very small show, so you won't have any problems spreading out over 5,000 square feet with social distancing. Like, there's really not many people that are going to be here, so there is tons of room, and I think people are still kind of nervous. So yeah, but you'll have plenty of room. We're here Saturday night at 6:30, and we're doing poppies, red poppies in a pitcher with a cute little flag. So there's some really fun techniques that we'll be going over with that. And you can leave the flag out if you want to keep it out all year round and just keep it more traditional, you know, non-seasonal. You have the option. Yeah, we have that option too. And then I'm also teaching, now this is not an actual show like where we're together in person, but tomorrow I'm coming back live for USA. So we're doing a really fun, it's the, you know, the whole United States pattern, and there's some really fun patterns over the top. Do I want you to wear a mask? Well, you can if you want to. Some people can't because of asthma, and some people, you know, I can't wear one because I'm mic'd up and I just can't wear one because of that. And I mean, if somebody really wants me to wear one, I'll wear one out of sensitivity for them. But I have a hard time breathing with those things on. So they make me, I don't know, they just freak me out. But I try to wear one when I go out. I'm trying to be a good citizen, always wear one when I go out. But yeah, when people are just relaxed at their table painting, they just always end up taking their mask off and just relaxing. And then as I come around and help out, I try to just stand, you know, far enough away from people to where they feel comfortable and everything. But yeah, that's just kind of how we're handling it. I mean, we're just kind of, I don't know, we're just hoping for the best, and we just try to keep our distance from everybody. So, but yeah. So I don't know if I really answered your question, but I guess you might want to start with one, you know, in the event that you're around some different people, and then that way you stay safe. And then when you get to your table and you can relax a little bit, then you can just take it off and relax. So, yeah. Yes. Yeah. The whole mask thing. It's crazy. And then we have some really cute ones for sale too. So, you know, there's that too. So yeah. So we'd love to see y'all. Yeah, come back and see us. And yes, being a nurse. My mom's a nurse. I read you. Yeah. My mom's a nurse, so she's always wearing one. But when she comes to see me, she doesn't. So I'm not much, I don't think I'm much of a threat. I never go anywhere all day long for weeks and weeks. I'm like in quarantine all the time, so I haven't been around anybody. But yeah, so sum up, I guess the best way to answer that is, yes, sure, wear one, and then as you get to your table, just relax, and you can take it off and just relax and enjoy yourself. And then, you know, I would say just wear it as needed when you get, you know, if you feel like you're in that position where maybe you're in line to get something to drink and you have to be near somebody, then put it back on, I guess, you know. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Oh well. Okay. But yeah, so yeah, come see us. And if you can't come see us, paint with us online. And I'm coming back at you tomorrow, 12 o'clock, 12 noon. We'll paint the beautiful USA. And then I think we're doing something Sunday too. I think. I'm not sure. But I'm just painting almost every day. And check our calendar on Facebook too and see what we got. But yeah, for sure. You can come paint with us this Saturday, 6:30. But have a beautiful rest of the day. I don't know if you've got thunderstorms there, but enjoy it. It's kind of peaceful. But yeah, and then we'll see you soon. If not this Saturday night here in our place, we have the wine bar open too. You can come by, visit with us, shop a little bit, or paint with us. But yeah, for sure, see me online tomorrow at noon. All right, y'all have a beautiful rest of the day. See you soon. Mwah.